Hey there, TRASTRA fans. So today we're going to do an interview. We haven't done these in a while, but today's guest is so fascinating that I thought we really ought to sit down with this guy and spend some quality time together. Because today we're going to be talking about arbitrage, crypto arbitrage. I got to be honest with you, I'm not very familiar with it. It's a trading style that requires a trading bot. It's some sort of an automated trading algorithm that this is where my knowledge about it stops, because I prefer the meditative state where you actually mess around with stocks and cryptos and all kinds of assets, sort of put them together like little chess pieces on your board. But that's me. I thought that it'll be very educational for you to actually go in depth on something called crypto arbitrage, and maybe, I don't know, maybe you'll get into it, maybe not. At any rate, I think the conversation is really sparkling. I mean, we've had so much to talk about, and it's a fascinating subject, like I already mentioned. So I guess you can tell that I'm a little too excited about this. So you be the judge whether or not this is something for you, and I will see you in the next video. Enjoy. Okay. Hey, Harry. Thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it. It took a bit of time to track you down, but it's well, I'm happy that we're finally meeting face to blur, because of the I remember that you requested to be blurred out, and actually this was going to be my first question. Why do you think it's necessary to sort of appear this way online? Because I mean, I realize that we're in sort of an iffy space, but still, I mean, do you really have to conceal your identity?
Well, it's a tough question, and this has been an ongoing conversation in my company from the very get-go. This hasn't been something that, came along later that we thought, oh, actually, we could maybe get rid of my voice filter, maybe we could get rid of the mask. This has been a balancing act, because sort of, a company is not just one small collection of people that all function in the same way. A company is a collection of many, many people who fill many departments, each of whom are sort of at odds with each other at many, many steps of the way. So essentially, from the very beginning, my security as an individual and the security of the arbitrage operation that we're running is at odds to my public image, and at odds against my, sorry, not to my, at odds against my public image, and at odds against the marketing side of our company, which of course it would make sense for me to be public for. People
Sure.
love to see faces. People love to see someone like me come out very publicly and say exactly what's going on at all times, exactly how we're working internally. I think that's crucial, and I've been trying to do that. But of course, the face part, due to the fact we're doing arbitrage, due to the fact that some of the operations we're doing, are spread across the world, spread across many different accounts, many different exchanges, there are some little gray areas there that we really don't want to touch, and we really don't want to poke the sleeping bear on. And I mean, I suppose the biggest sleeping bear in all of this are American regulators, who just tend to overreach, and tend to overreach very retroactively. They don't, they don't tend to notify you when you're doing something wrong. They just sort of swoop in and screw you over once the time has come. So that is a risk we didn't want to take too.
Yeah. That's what I was going to ask you next, because I mean, well, let's take it from the top, because I wanted to tell us a little bit about the company, the business that you guys do, because I've been in crypto for many years now, and I've sort of heard of arbitrage, but I don't have anyone in my circle, someone who's doing this. And I was preparing for the interview, and I read some articles, and that sort of read up on the whole thing, and it's kind of opening up to me now. But I've never done this myself. I mean, to me, it's like a meditative state when you sort of mess around with stocks, when you mess around with with your portfolio. But obviously, some people are doing it, and doing it quite successfully. So, what is it? I mean, how does it work?
Yeah, I'd be happy to answer that. I mean, in the most basic sense, let's just pretend that arbitrage is okay. So there are different there are different ways to do arbitrage. There are different trades that we do. But in the most basic sense, imagine, oh, I don't know, you were able to buy, just imagine for whatever reason, let's say, I don't know, let's say you're a guitar collector. And let's say that you're able, for one reason or another, to buy guitars very cheaply in Japan. And you're able to bring them over to the US or bring them over to wherever you happen to live to essentially sell them for a profit. That, in the least sort of technical sense, is what arbitrage is. But of course, with cryptocurrencies and with the internet, we're able to do it, 24/7 across the globe without really many barriers and limitations except the liquidity that's required to actually profit from an individual trade. So essentially all we're doing is, in an automated fashion, of course, again, because this all happens very quickly and over the internet, we're just buying up currencies slightly cheaper on one exchange than we sell them on another. And that's kind of what our business is. You then have other more complex variants of that coming in. Say triangular arbitrage will be, you're not going across from one currency to another, or from, no, sorry, the other way around. You're not going from one exchange to another, but you're going from one currency to another and then back to the same currency. And you may still do that across exchanges. You may do that on the same exchange. It's all a matter of sort of the maths that you do along the way. And very fortunately, we're now at the time where technology can do most of that maths for us. So we do it very quickly. We do it very sort of, what's the word? No one gets involved with the numbers on a daily basis. It's mostly all automated for us. We get involved with the coding a lot. We get involved with the execution of the trades a lot, because again, that's the part that people actually need to very quickly review before it happens. Let's say like the bot is actually doing the maths, and then, so it's a 3-step process. Okay, the bot will get stuff coming in from the Binance order book. The bot will then do some maths, and then the bot will tell us, okay, execute this trade, and it will execute it automatically. That 3rd step is the step that we need to review, because if we wasted our time reviewing the 1st and 2nd steps as well, we just wouldn't have time for the 3rd step to, kick in at the right time for the arbitrage window not to close. So essentially, I've gone on a bit of a tangent, but I hope that goes a long way in explaining not just what we do, but how we do it as well, to an extent.
Well, there's so much to unpack here. You mentioned Binance, so I take it you do it with BNB.
Oh yeah. So our platform's currency is BNB, but we don't just do it with BNB. It's just a case of sort of, when you're building something up in the crypto space, you either have to start from scratch and make your own coin, in which case you're going to face an army of people calling you a scam and telling you, oh, look, this guy started a shit coin. No one really knows what that is. Like, no one's going to invest in it. And they have a point in a way. It's always an uphill battle when you start a new currency, when you start a new project. And if you're starting a new project with its own currency, that's a double uphill battle. Like, why the hell would you bother? Yeah. So we've decided that we're going to go with a very established coin to base ourselves on. I have a lot of faith in BNB. I think that Binance, being the largest exchange, being one of the, I suppose, undefeated players to this point. We've seen big exchanges like FTX fall. We've seen a lot of big crypto businesses just get sort of, packed up in a box and shipped to a place that box is never going to get opened.
Yeah, I hear you. It's a very interesting topic. In fact, I'd like to sort of, I mean, we'll call it debate, the whole Binance issue. I mean, I have my own opinion on that, but that's beside the point. I wanted to ask you, so Binance is a pretty, it's a huge infrastructure. The BNB chain hosts, like, I don't know, probably dozens, maybe hundreds of dApps. Do you guys only do like a buy sell thing, or do you get involved in DeFi, like invest on behalf of your clients, tell your users how to, make money in DeFi, or just straight up buy and sell?
Okay, so at the moment, all that we do is we are an arbitrage trading group, essentially, or a trading platform. But the reason I said group is because I run one of the 20 teams behind Cat that actually do the trading.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you about that, because I saw that on your website, and that sort of, stumped in that one. When you say 20 teams, it's like, is there a core team, like a bunch of people that works for the company that hires the rest of the team, or is there some sort of
this is a difficult one to explain. I struggle explaining this, because every time No, no, every time someone would come along, they'd say, right, so is the cat team the arbitrage traders, or is the cat team people who work at the company, regardless of which wing of the company they work for? Essentially, sort of, I think the best way to break this down would be to go back to before cat was founded and before cat was. So let's go to a point where cat was an idea floating around my mind, but I didn't know what I was going to call it, and I didn't really have the groundwork laid yet. So at that point in time, all of the 20 teams, all of these people are people I'd already known and worked with, people that, you know, are in their own right experts, but they're not necessarily people doing work for a specific client, or they won't be people doing. So it'll essentially, the way to boil this down is these are people who have at some point worked on an arbitrage team for an exchange, or worked on an arbitrage team for, say, a whale or a crypto fund. And they've, I suppose, I wouldn't say defected necessarily, but they've gone their own separate way for whatever reason. And now they run a trading team of their own, in which they essentially do what they did before, but for their own benefit rather than for the benefit of whoever they were working for.
So they're like referrals, right? So you basically run a bunch of teams that are derived from your referral program. Like you recruit people to run things for, or what?
No, no. So this is a very difficult process to pick people for, because you've got to pick, you know, insider, very qualified insider people rather than anyone who, you know, happens to click a link. So it's quite the opposite of that. But essentially what I was leading up to is the 20 teams. So we're united almost exclusively by our ideology and nothing other than that. And at this point, 6 months in, we are completely committed to cat, so like almost exclusively. Of course, some people say, like the Germans that I work with, they'll be running their own little trades in the background as well. But the excuse that they use, of course, being Germans, is, you know, they're analyzing this, they're analyzing that. Like, I get it, it's pocket change, there's nothing wrong with that. But at the end of the day, what unites us all is cat. And at this point, it's people who have been arbitrage traders, say, in my case it's been 5 years, in their case it could have been more than that, it could have been 7 years, it could have been 3 years in some people's case. But essentially it's people who have been in the market for a long time, who came to know me one way or another, who at the right time, at the right place, just happened to want to be a part of the project and happened to have the portfolio at the same time to be a part of the project. So that's the arbitrage traders.
Right. So if I want to be part of the project, all right, so the step one is pretty clear. You go up to the website, you sort of, I don't know, log in or create an account, and then what? Do you need to talk to someone?
No.
Do you have KYC, AML? Do you guys verify?
On the back end.
What does that mean?
Essentially, that means we just run. So the way we work is even simpler than what you said. You don't need to log in. You don't need to do anything. So it's all based on your wallet. And essentially, all you have to do is connect your wallet to the platform. Oh, and at that point...
I'm sorry, let me cut you off right here. So you guys don't have a wallet. It has to be an external wallet, right? Something that...
No. So it's all in your control. We don't make wallets for you. We don't do anything like that. We have a smart contract for you to connect your wallet to, but we don't. So some exchanges will have internal wallets now. So we're all in favor of a non-custodial wallet. That's the only way we do business.
Cool. So it's basically just a website.
Yeah.
That's got its own functionality, and yours is just happen to have the functionality of, you know, making people money.
Yeah, precisely.
This is so fun to discuss, because especially today with all the regulatory nightmare that's spreading out like wildfire, and I have no idea how that's going to affect DeFi pretty soon. I mean, I'm not sure how to reconcile, for example, the rampant re-centralization efforts with you know, with the community building and decentralized nature of DeFi. So you know, over the last few months, especially since the FTX thing, I was sort of at a loss at how to proceed. How do people plan on proceeding in this space? So yours is like is an interesting recipe. So you don't verify your clients. You're not a regulated company, I take it, right? You're not licensed,
no.
You know, for any financial operations or anything. You don't have a particular jurisdiction, so you don't have to answer to any particular authorities, you know, other than, you know, FinCEN going after you at some point if somebody, you know, does a trade and earns like 100 mil and disappears with that. So you're probably going to have to answer for that somehow. And that's one of the reasons why you guys have your faces blurred or something.
Yeah.
Am I close?
That is part of the reason. That's part of the reason. You're very close, but at the same time, as I said, it's the industry as well, kind of. So it's just a standard that we're used to. You know, we don't.
I don't have anything against that. I mean, I'm all for that. I mean, I'm a staunch libertarian. I think you know, a sovereign individual should be able to enjoy all the rights in the society, on the planet, whatever. I mean, as long as you're not doing anybody any harm, you should be fine. You don't have to, you know, look over your shoulder at some stupid FinCEN going after you. If you're making money for yourself and other people, you know, kudos to you, more power.
Yeah.
But I mean, we're living the reality. So I want to ask these questions because, you know, people are going to be watching this video and they'll naturally probably will have the same questions that I do. All right. So you're a non-custodial wallet. Do you use a particular wallet or it doesn't really matter? Do you have a list or is there one or two?
We do have a list, but I also have like a personal preference, I suppose, if that's what you're asking. So I use Trust Wallet all the time. A lot of people also use Trust Wallet, but anything that supports Wallet Connect is going to work with the platform, and MetaMask is also going to work with the platform. In fact, MetaMask goes a step further than that. So like MetaMask is one of those wallets that's fully embraced the Web3 push and the integration. They've got their own browser. They've got all sorts of things in the actual app. So with MetaMask, it's even easier because you don't have to even exit the app of your wallet. You know, why bother pressing the home button another time, you know? So you just go in the browser in your wallet and at that point connect. It's that easy. It really is. Like, this is one of the things that I really harp on about with the platform is just how simple it is to connect. Because like you said, it's not really governed by anyone. It's not really, what's the word? It's not really regulated at all. So one of the things that we really wanted to push for is ease of use. Because once you know, if you get rid of all the rules and you think, how do we build something good really from first principle? You think ever so critically about it for a while. I think everyone at the same time, like no matter what you're trying to build, everyone will come to the same conclusion, at least in one area, which is just ease of use. No one wants something that's difficult to use. You know, think of, I don't know, like I've got an iPhone here. Why are they so popular, not Android? Our iPhones are only popular because they're really easy to use. They've got really good software. They've got really good UI. That is why they've got such a large market share. And so I think once you really think about that kind of thing, it's all about even just the amount of clicks in which you can start making money. So for us, it's 3. Like, find me another place where in 3 clicks you could be making money. There isn't one. I challenge you to find me one. I really don't think there's another one out there on the internet.
Well, this is going to be my other question, because it's all, you know, well and good while you're making money, but then obviously at some point there comes a time when you have to lose some money. Okay. So how does that affect your clients? Do they like knock on your door? Do you have support? Do you answer somehow?
We do. But we haven't had a point.
What I'm asking is there a mechanism, you know, is there like a back and forth that's designed to, you know, alleviate some pains, you know, provide some counsel, you know, let people know what's going on and all that? Because
so at every point, so we have had a couple of growing pains, let's call them that, because we haven't lost any money on the trading side, but there have been issues that came along that negatively affected our community. And issues like that we handle in 2 ways. So essentially, one, I try to make it very, very known that we're staying up to date and we're staying in contact, which essentially boils down to me making more of a public appearance, other company officials making more of a public appearance, and just stepping that up, because I think that's really important. You know, as you've said before with shit coins and all of that kind of thing, people tend to assume the worst. So it's very important to clear the air. But the other thing is, of course we have support. And of course we have, you know, proper processes set in place to actually alleviate those growing pains on an individual basis, rather than you know, just coming out with a public statement and just calling it done and case closed. So we do handle it internally, but I think the most important thing I wanted to cover in your point that was, I suppose, not a misrepresentation, but maybe a misunderstanding is, so let's go back to my guitar example of buying guitars in Japan. You know, let's say you chuck them all in a shipping crate. You've come to America, you've got a shipping crate full of guitars that no one wants for the price that you would need to make money. You've still got a shipping crate full of guitars. You've not lost all your money. You've still got a shipping crate full of guitars. Same goes here. We've still got, so say we miss an arbitrage window, we've still got that amount of currency. And of course, we could either wait for another one to come along, at which point we're still making money, or we could just, you know, cut our losses there, sell it, and move on to the next transaction. And when you're working at hundreds of transactions a second, 20 teams across the world, it really is one of those things that just gets polished over and not really noticed. So I think the most important thing is here, of course, on an individual trade basis, trade by trade, some are going to lose you money. But overall, the process is so well oiled that the community has never had a point where they didn't make money that they were expecting to make. That's why our figures are so promising, and that's why our figures are so, I suppose, rigid as well. Like, we don't say, oh, you'll be making this percent range to this percent range every day, because we're very confident that we can deliver the percentage that we promised, and then some, if anything. So, like, say we've made more money than we've promised you from the return. Okay, you get a little bit more. That's something we've actually tried to communicate more clearly with the bonus structure that we're bringing in on the new version of the smart contract coming in on the 12th. Is we've tried to explain that essentially, look, there's enough money to go around for everyone, and if anything, sometimes there's more money than we promised, and we wanted to make that messaging very clear.
So let me ask you. This is the new smart contract is an interesting spot. Let me go back to that. But I wanna ask you about the earnings, the yield distribution. So you run teams. These are not are these individual investors or some sort of pool that, you know, gets a particular percentage and then they divvy it up amongst themselves, or the platform distributes the earnings in accordance to whatever's encoded to the smart contract? Or what's the schema here? Because I'm not really, on the one hand, there's an individual that's logging up and sort of, you know, connects the wallet, and actually I'm still a little sort of confused about what happens next. So I've connected my wallet. There's 100 BNB in that, and then what? So what do I do?
We take your 100 BNB and you never see us again. No.
Okay, let's call it step one.
Yeah,
I mean, let's call it
one.
version one of the events. Let's talk about the version 2.
Yeah. Okay. No. We're not. We're not actually advocating for that. And just to be clear, that's never happened. But essentially, in the most basic sense, so in 3 clicks, what you've done is you've connected to the platform,
right,
and you've authorized the smart contract to display your wallet's balance on the platform. The reason we want to do that is because we've then got a nifty little window that you essentially type in your investment amount into, and we thought it'd be very handy to display the wallet amount, the total balance in BNB, to just give you a reference frame and to essentially, you know, because let's say you don't remember the conversion rate. Let's say whatever goes. And let's say not all of the BNB that you were going to invest in your wallet is BNB that you wanted to invest. It's just a handy little thing for you to have a look at and to say, okay, say I have 100 BNB, cross-reference that with the profit brackets that we offer and say, oh, that's cool. So they have an 80 BNB profit bracket that I really could take advantage of. But at the same time, I don't know if I want to go in for that amount. Let's have a look at the other. Oh, cool, 5 BNB. So I could put down 5 BNB. I could, you know, wait, take advantage of compound interest, and then build that up to 80 BNB if I really wanted to. Or even better, I could wait to see how the project works, wait to see if I like the way it works, and at that point, deposit more money. So essentially, the second step after you've connected your wallet would be to actually make a deposit, and that is, well, 2 more clicks really, if that. First click being, you know, entering the sum, and second click being just confirming the operation. And once you've done that, the money joins our smart contract, at which point essentially a smart contract is just a vessel towards our arbitrage traders, and not necessarily your specific money will be you know, immediately sent to them, but using certain accounting practices, we're able to keep some money in the smart contract. Again, that being a vessel, you know, it's important that, let's say someone wants to withdraw at the same time as you deposit. It's important that there's always money in it. But essentially, once your money joins the smart contract, your money is considered trading money. And at that point, it's just one of the big pools that one of our teams would use for trading. So it's really as simple as that. You're essentially providing liquidity to us.
Let me ask you, so the team thing, I don't catch the moment when you become, a part of a team. So you just described the actions of an individual who's decided to invest on cat platform. But what do teams do? I don't get that.
Oh, okay. Sorry. No. I should have explained this at the very beginning. It's kind of, again, a messaging thing above all else. So the cat team are traders and also are people who work in other departments of the company. So essentially, if you're an employee of cat, one way or another, you're part of the cat team. Now, anyone who isn't an employee of ours, anyone who isn't working with us directly, but is, let's say, invested in the project or maybe a contributor by some other means. So let's say we have a designer who came along and said, oh, I really like this and that. So here's like some Telegram stickers I made. That happened not too long ago. So they'll be a part of the cat community rather than the cat team. Essentially, the cat community are anyone else who's involved in the project, anyone else who's just seen it and likes what we're doing. Maybe you're financially involved in it. Maybe, like I said, you're in another way involved and you're holding off on the actual investment. I don't know. Maybe you're just a very active chatter in Telegram. At that point, still, even we consider you a part of the cat community. Essentially, it's just anyone who is in one way or another involved in the project other than being employed by us. Right. So I suppose two categories of people there.
So it's kind of the institution of ambassadorship. Every person that runs a team is kind of a brand ambassador out in the world, telling people what's going on, sort of promoting the project, et cetera, et cetera. Is it fair to say that?
No, I think actually the community is more of a institution of ambassadorship, if anything, because like I'd already said, I'm, I've had my face blurred for this, and I usually wear a cat mask, which of course is just a clever little branding thing, but at the end of the day, it's still about anonymity. So us as traders are often anonymous. People working for the company in other branches may not be as anonymous. So say I know that some people in marketing really love their face-to-face meetings. They don't conduct business over the internet, which to me is really odd. I grew up with computers. I've been digital meetings all the way, even before COVID. Like I just call people. As a kid, you get used to that because you call someone up, you game with them. So it's just a very natural progression. But then there's other people who want to conduct business in other ways, and they might meet in person and so on. But essentially, the real ambassadorship is on the other side with the cat community, because we wanted to, when you have a good thing, it's quite natural to share that good thing with the people around you. So we've had a sort of bonus program that rewards you for sharing that good thing, for bringing people on board. So I think if anything, we've given you an incentive there to go and be an ambassador and to be a representative for the company. And we also have pathways for cat community members to become cat leaders and cat representatives. So to essentially, maybe conduct presentations on behalf of the company, in which case, of course, at that point, you're part of the cat team too. We'll be getting you paid. We'll be getting all sorts of, fun trips for you to go on and so on. But really the ambassadorships on the community side, the whole point of having a community is that it's people who are very interested in the project, very passionate about the project, who can then go on and present the project to others, and who can actually sort of spread the good word, I suppose. Because I don't feel the pressure as much here. This is a very friendly environment. But when I've had to do a Zoom conference not too long ago in front of 600 people, I'm an arbitrage trader. I'm not built for that kind of thing. So it's very good to have people come along who are more network minded and who are able to do that more professionally.
Well, let me ask you this. It's kind of it's a difficult question, but I want to ask it because I think it's important for a lot of people. From what I'm hearing, if it's like a sort of incremental trading, pumping crypto, pumping BNB and BNB derived coins, I suppose, because that's how it is, from exchange to exchange. Unless you invest large, makes very little sense. I mean, the gains are, I'd say, even negligible. So I'm trying to reconcile in my head the fact that you guys are anonymous all the way, and not a regulated company. And on the other hand, you're probably, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but you probably expect people to invest large amounts of money because that's the only way that makes sense for them to do it if they want to get into an arbitrage. So how do you reconcile these 2 points? On the one hand, it's anonymous. Basically, if the website goes down tomorrow, no one's going to find you. No one, there is no legal recourse or anything. And on the other hand, it probably makes the best sense to invest large, and you need to convince people to give you a lot of money. So how do you do that?
I think this is one of those things. So we reconciled this question in our own right when we were founding the company, because of course, as a trader, your instinct, I suppose, even would just be to go up to someone with a lot of money and say, please let me trade for you. Like that is essentially the very first response that a trader might have to the question of how do I get more money. And we wanted to approach this in a much more novel way. And also going back to the ideology thing I said about the 20 teams, we wanted to approach this in a way that is not very standard, because as we've seen, the industry standard is benefiting almost no one, with the exception of the very rich people who already have money, who have investors approaching them and saying, hey mate, let me trade for you. So essentially, the whole point of having a community and the whole point of having that smart contract funneling money at a very, very efficient rate towards our wallets, the whole point of that is to enable a lot of people with a tiny bit of money to come along and do the same thing as 1 or 2 people with a crap load of money. The whole founding premise for us was you can have $40, you could have $40,000, you could have 40 million bucks. It doesn't really matter. You're welcome here. And having founded this, so at the very start, of course, as you mentioned, it's an operation that requires a lot of liquidity to even be profitable. And there's also, I don't think you mentioned this, but there's also a bit of a glass ceiling in regards to fees and in regards to all of the processing costs, which you really need to break through. And in order to break through that for sure at the very start, and also to just show our commitment, each of the 20 teams, we had the deal as we were founding the company that we put down $1 million of our own money as liquidity, and also as a sort of backstop in case there isn't enough money in the system on the community side to warrant trading. So essentially, we are at this point well above the 20 million. I think the cat community has more liquidity in there now than we do. But the point was to give it a sort of, give it enough momentum, just give it a gentle push off the hill at the very start with that 20 million. And I hope that answers your question. And if it doesn't,
oh, it does. And actually, it's a perfect segue to my next question. So you guys are doing very well. And wouldn't you say that it's time for, for your own coin, some sort of, kind of a branching off and, entering the space with your own version of a cryptocurrency? That could be either, I don't know, rep BNB of some sort, maybe, get on the BNB gravy wagon and gravy train and sort of capitalize on that, because I'm sure a lot of people would be really looking forward to a company like yours. It's a natural step forward, to start really utilizing the ecosystem instead of just, not instead, but, on top of doing arbitrage within the Binance ecosystem, not within the Binance ecosystem, with the Binance coin.
I mean,
also come up with your own digital asset of any sort. Maybe, I don't know, maybe start investing in projects, whatever. I mean, sky's the limit here.
I mean, I suppose the beauty of arbitrage, if we even want to go back to that guitar example once again, is at the end of the day, you're trading in guitars. You're not trading in the Japanese or the American currency. That's just a means to the end. And here again, we're trading in percent. So
you wouldn't be a great guitar trader if you just stop at trading in guitars. If you bought a crate of guitars and you sold it well, you're like, well, why not get some amps too?
Yeah, why not bass guitars?
Why not start trading microphones? Maybe even build your own. That's what I'm asking. I mean, that's the point of the question.
Well, I think at that point, there is I suppose there's a certain arrogance to thinking you can sell amps and cables and build your own guitar having sold just one crate. And I think we're in a similar situation, having existed for just 6 months. We don't necessarily want to tie up our name, which at this point, our name has been, legitimized extensively and has been proven across the world, but only just. So in 6 months, you've only just managed to become sort of established in the market. And that, I don't think, is the point at which you start throwing around alternatives and the point at which you start experimenting. And I also think there is a way to experiment, and then there's a way to just, screw things up. Like, I don't know if you've ever, I don't know if you have kids, but you'll have kids, small kids making, let's say, potions in the bathtub. That's always just, chuck in some shampoo, chuck in some conditioner, chuck in a bath bomb, just whatever goes. That's not science. Like, of course, don't stop them from having fun, but you get my point. We don't want to be doing that as as industry leaders. We're not kids making potions in the bathtub. So it is much more, it just requires a lot more time and a lot more thought than the 6 months that we've had. And at the same time, why fix something that works? Like right now, the community's happy, the team are happy. Like all the people I work with directly who work for Cat are saying it's the best thing they've ever done in the crypto space. It's the best thing it's the best initiative they've ever, embraced. So we're at a point where we're incredibly successful at what we're doing. And I suppose the distractions do start coming in, but let's say, okay, let's put it this way, that it's important among all those distractions to separate the wheat from the chaff. And I think there's a lot of chaff, but the wheat comes down to maybe processing payments in more than one currency, which we have considered. But at this point, again, we want to stick to BNB with this version of the smart contract, and probably the next one, but maybe the one after that. We'll do some multi-chain thing. Multi-chain, again, like, is just a question of fees that we don't want to be having on our end, because it all comes down to when you're explaining fees, when you're explaining percentages like that to a member of the community, and you're saying like, oh, if you pay in this currency, you have to pay us more, and there's also this and that and the other, they get very unhappy, especially when they're comparing it to BNB, which has been working totally fine this entire time. So multi-chain is maybe coming, but other than that, I think there's a lot of ideas that are that deserve, to do them justice. Maybe we could come back to them in another 6 months and maybe then spend a year developing them, and then maybe in 2024 or 2025 would be the point at which we really talk about, well, we have a product here. How do we move past the point where it's in development? But really, it's one of those things that you can't just, you can't be getting distracted as soon as you've made it to the top of the hill. There's still a whole marathon to run.
Well, let me ask, so the company's 6 months old, and it just occurred to me that it's you founded this company weeks after the Terra catastrophe, Terra calamity. At the time when the market was really tumbling down pretty hard. And as far as I'm concerned, it hasn't recovered yet. So what was the thinking behind that? I mean, you're looking at the crypto market basically just crashing, and everyone around you is saying things like crypto is done for, crypto is over, this is it. I mean, and then a couple months later, FTX hit.
Yeah.
And the whole environment's like the entire space is basically just falling apart. And on that backdrop, you guys are doing very well. You're doing fine. So why do you think is that? How does that happen? How does one come up with an idea to create another?
I think, if I told you that I was starting a business during the pandemic, you'd call me crazy. But if I told you I'm starting a business selling hand sanitizer during the pandemic, you'd go, well, there's a great opportunity here. And so essentially, I think the most important thing to understand about arbitrage, without going into the depths of how it works specifically in our case and how it works with crypto, any arbitrage works more on volatility than it does on I suppose the sum value of whatever you've just bought. Essentially, we're more after the more windows for arbitrage that come up, the better it is for us. And in cases like FTX, in cases like Terra Luna, you've got an increased volatility in the market, if anything. And so long as you play your cards right, which we have done twice now, and probably will do a third time the next time something like this comes up, as long as you play your cards right as traders, there's more money to be made, if anything, as opposed to less. So it's actually one of these weird sort of red herring situations where you'd think, oh, well, Terra Luna just happened. How are you guys making money? When in reality, it's part of the reason we're making money, if anything.
Right.
And I do want to take a tangent on the Terra Luna thing as well, because that's kind of ignited a memory in my mind as to why we don't want to deal. A lot of people have been asking us to deal with USDT, to deal with USDC. And of course, if the community wants for there to be a stable coin sooner or later, for the sake of simplicity and for the sake of essentially just, one less bit of maths to do, I think it's very important to understand the risk of stable coins and the risk of how they work. Because let's say a regular coin like BNB might be sitting around 330 now, and next week it might dip down to 300, and in 2 weeks time it might dip down further still to 270. But then in another 3 or 4 months time it might be at 350, it might be at 320. So it's kind of got a range within which it's expected to hover to an extent. Like if BNB was at $20 tomorrow, you'd consider that a crash. That'd be nothing short of it'd be nothing short of a disaster. But with stable coins, you either really get a disaster or nothing at all. So you either have a deep egg, a death spiral, or you might have a deep egg by like a tiny, just completely, insignificant amount, and then it stays exactly where it is. So I think with a stable coin, it's an all or nothing situation that I really don't want to put the community through, because sooner or later, there is a pretty high chance of a stable coin going wrong, just due to the way they work and due to the way that it's just the nature of trying to reconcile traditional finance and how crypto works. You can't really have a stable coin is an oxymoron in a certain sense. So I think it's very important that we don't take on stable coins, actually, because it's an all or nothing situation. And someday someone is going to wake up, someone's going to look at their phone, and someone's going to go, all my money's gone. These guys have stolen all my money. And that's not what would have happened at all. But at the end of the day, it's a matter of reputation. It's a matter of basic human decency. It's just a matter of sleeping at night, whether you lose people money or not. So stable coins for me are a kind of, I don't like them that much, I'll be honest.
I hear you loud and clear. Let's hope that it never happens. Although, I mean, I don't see us learning any lessons very well, so it probably will happen. Let's just hope that it doesn't really do what FTX did, and crash so many people beyond repair. But yeah, let's you were talking about volatility, and I remember that old movie. I don't know, I'm not sure how old you are, but probably not old enough to remember the movie called Trading Places, when Don Amici and Jack Lemmon played those
I've definitely heard
traders.
of it. I've definitely heard of it.
You should watch. If you haven't seen it, check it out. It's a blast. Eddie Murphy's in it. I mean, it's awesome. It's an awesome comedy from the late 80s, I think.
Yeah. No, well, I was born in 95, so obviously, little past. Maybe my parents would have been watching it at some point, but I've walked in being like, oh, this seems funny. But yeah, no, so it's a little past,
you just
little past my age bracket.
You just leaked some of the confidential information here. Ka-ching. Anyways, yeah.
So may as well unblur my face at this point.
They have this episode in that movie where the two really, really like red hot traders, guys that have founded New York Exchange, they're like old dudes, billionaires and whatever. They try to explain the principles behind stock trading to a guy who's like from the city slums. Eddie Murphy plays that guy, and they go, well, listen, some of our clients want to sell some stocks while other clients want to buy some stocks. And the beauty, he goes, like, tell them about the beauty part. Well, the beauty part is no matter whether our clients lose or make money, the Duke and Duke gets their commissions. So I think it's a good thing. I mean, you guys are doing very well, basically earning your commissions earning commissions for other people invested on your platform. Whether or not the coin goes down or up, whether or not someone's making or losing money, I think it's a great model, and I think it'll go places. So that's great. Yeah, we can. I know you're pressed for time, and I think we've
Yeah.
already taken a little bit more than we planned on. So I guess this means that the discussion went very well.
Yeah. Well, no, I definitely enjoy talking. I wouldn't go so far as to say I'm good at it, but it's been a pleasure. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah,
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, thanks a lot, and hopefully we'll do this soon sometime. Good
All
luck
right.
to you and your clients and your users.
Thank you so
and,
much, and
and
I
the
hope I see you
teams.
again very soon. It's been lovely.
Cheers.
It's been lovely to chat. Thank you so
Absolutely.
much.